So I'll give you the formal introduction. So MP Taleeb Noormohamed is the MP for Vancouver Granville. He's also the chair of the Federal Liberal Pacific Caucus, and he's on the Standing Committee of Public Safety and National Security, as well as the Standing Joint Committee for the Scrutiny of Regulations. He was awarded the Governor General's Caring Canadian Award. He was awarded the Governor General's Caring Canadian Award, as well as the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal. And he has a wide range of expertise and backgrounds. His master's degree was international education policy from Harvard, and he attended Oxford University for his doctoral studies. He also has the unique distinction of being the first elected Muslim MP from British Columbia. Thank you for joining us, Taleeb.
Thank you very much, Yusuf, and it's a pleasure to be here. It's always tough to follow the minister. He's a great speaker and always has such important things to share with us. You know, I am very privileged and very grateful to live and work and play on the traditional unceded territory of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh, the Coast Salish First Peoples, particularly in conversations like this, when you know, when we have such words of wisdom from Councillor, you know, these are thoughts that really resonate with us. And just yesterday, I was with Chief Wayne, and we were talking a lot about the challenges that we're all facing. And one of the things that we really talked about was this idea that hate and discrimination and the way in which we deal with one another has become such a common and unfortunate reality that we need to really take on. And so I want to thank Foundation for a Path Forward for bringing us together. You know, having these conversations about the rise of anti-Asian hate in our communities, cities, and the country as a whole is really important. And we need to come together, not just at the community level, but at the national level in Parliament. And, you know, I would be remiss not to mention that May marks Asian Heritage Month. And this is supposed to be an opportunity to reflect on the reality, the culture, the contributions of the Asian community. But what we're actually having to do is spend time on the realities of anti-Asian hate crimes, of hate-filled incidents against Asian communities since the COVID-19 pandemic. Nous connaissons que la haine n'a pas sa place au Canada ni dans nos collectivités, mais c'est une réalité vécue par trop des Canadiens. Alors que nous poursuivons nos efforts pour condamner et combattre la discrimination raciale sous toutes ses formes, nous devons le faire d'une manière qui ne laisse personne de côté. Bien trop souvent, nous pensons que la haine arrive quelque part à quelqu'un d'autre. Pourtant, il nous incombe à tous de nous tenir aux côtés des communautés touchées, car la haine contre l'un est la haine contre tous. We all experience hate in different ways, and we think that it's only us, but the reality is if we come together to find solutions, we will be able to overcome hate. We're all hearing from our constituents who fear for their safety each and every day. You know, it's unacceptable. I hear students harassed coming home from school, aunties trying to do groceries, healthcare workers being told they are responsible for COVID-19, and of course, frustration about graffiti and indeed real fear of violence targeted towards the Asian community. And these reflect a horrific rise in anti-Asian hate in Canada. And it is shocking, but it is unfortunately a reality we are seeing that we have to take on. You know, recently I hosted a roundtable with the Minister of Housing and Diversity and Inclusion, and we had a broad range of community organizations, all of whom expressed their concerns about the rise of discrimination in our society. And as you know, it was said earlier, it's not surprising that last year Vancouver has the dubious distinction of being named the anti-Asian hate crime capital of North America, with a 717% spike in hate crimes. So we know that a contributing factor to the horrific rise of hate crimes is the rapid spread of misinformation, disinformation on social media. And this is something that we're seeing, and we have to take this on not just now through the pandemic, but beyond, because we have to, if we want to get ahead of this, address the harms of misinformation and disinformation is going to be key to making our community safer and more inclusive. Now, I see that my neighbor, Jenny Kwan, is here, and Jenny and I don't often agree on a lot of things. But what I am confident we agree on is that she and I and others in the House of Commons right now are fighting an insidious and I would argue very dangerous culture war with discussions of replacement theory, of Anglo-Saxon words, the idea that facts don't matter, that science has to go out the window, and that the best way to get ahead is not to strengthen one another, but to tear down one another and indeed our institutions. And if we don't take this on, our pluralistic, diverse country that, yes, needs work, but it starts to come unraveled, because at its fundamental core is this idea that we can be better if we're together. And so, as I've said before, when I've spoken to this organization, Yusuf, our path forward is through dialogue, education, and partnership. We have to start to see across our differences and actually figure out how we deal with shared challenges that communities are seeing. Um, there are so many, unfortunately, there are so many commonalities in the problems that we face. The more effort we put into learning about one another and the problems that we face, the easier it will be to take these on. This is the work that I think is going to be vital in ensuring that we can actually build a Canada where we look at hate and division as something of the past. So we have an opportunity and I think an obligation to look past prejudice and stand together with a shared commitment, particularly as we're talking about anti-Asian hate right now. We have to call it out when we see it, and we have to correct misperceptions of Asian Canadians among our friends, online, in our communities, in our professional environments. Because if we don't, as leaders, if we don't, whether we're academics, whether we're politicians, whether we're in the business world, whether we're students, if we don't take this on ourselves and start to take ownership of ensuring that we are the ones who say, no, that's not okay, no, that's not right, and standing up for one another, this comes unraveled very quickly. But we've got to make sure that, as the minister said, we are investing in the right things. We need to invest in education. We need to work with our provincial governments to make sure that provinces are doing their part, that cities are doing their part in ensuring that there is zero tolerance for hate. Because if we see what is happening in our communities, and I know when I look next door to what is happening in Chinatown from my riding, Jenny, you see this all the time, the graffiti, the number of seniors that are being assaulted, what is going on the way in which institutions of the community are being treated. These are small but significant markers of the way in which the community is being taken on in a way that is deeply, deeply distressing. And we have got to find ways to work together. We have got to find ways to push one another and our institutions to respond. Because if we are able to do this through conversation and through dialogue and through proactive response, we can actually do a lot of good. And I think we can prevent really terrible things from happening. What we've seen south of the border, when you see incidents of hate, what we've seen here at the mosque in Quebec City, with the Afzal family, what we saw happen to an elderly senior not a few days ago in Vancouver, these acts of violence follow words. And so words do matter. Our actions, when we hear these words, do matter. And we have to do our part in stopping the words and the actions that come. So I want to thank you for bringing us together for these crucial conversations. They are going to be the types of conversations that take us forward. And I'm so looking forward to hearing from all of you and the contributions that you're going to make, not just to this conversation, but so far beyond as we do work together. And so I'm really grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful to see so many wonderful folks on here that are willing to and able to and are keen to work together to step forward and deal with this once and for all. So again, thank you so much. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you as always.
Thank you, Taleeb. Again, having your voice it's always a pleasure because you bring a holistic approach to problem solving. The challenge of anti-Asian hate, as you said, was focusing on how the words, and we know they're spread in multiple forms, but primarily online, create a funnel to radicalization and violence, not only towards the Asian community, but towards others. So thank you for highlighting that. It is something collectively here on this allyship building call, and we all understand and want to work on finding solutions for. So thank you again.